one, and we are live for a new episode of the Electrek Podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and I'm joined by Seth Wintraub. How are you doing this week, Seth?
I'm doing a lot better than you. Sounds like you're pretty
yeah,
sick.
yeah. I just came back from Mexico, everyone. I'm back in Quebec, but bit of a bug that I caught there. Not COVID, apparently tested negative, but doesn't mean I don't feel horrible, which I do. But I have been in every one of these podcast episodes for like how long we've been doing that? Set 4 years or something.
Yeah, three or
Has to
four
be
years.
4 years or something. So I'm gonna try to still be there today. Still go through the podcast.
Got to keep the
Uh,
streak going.
yes. So bear with me if my energy is a little bit lower than usual, or if I have to mute myself to cough or even swallow because my throat is killing me. All right, we have a few interesting piece of news to discuss, though. So let's jump into it, see if it gives me some energy before I crash. Um, we have this little exclusive yesterday. We have some sources, as you know, we have a few sources at Tesla that keep us in the loop about how things are going, especially at the end of quarters and things like that. It's fun to know how the order rates are and if Tesla is still doing well, which we know they're doing pretty well, but like the context has changed a little bit. That makes it interesting, and that context is if you well, hopefully you drive an electric vehicle if you're listening to the podcast, or you if not, I'm sorry right now. Hopefully you're looking to do it in the future, but if you drive past a gas station, check the prices because they are quite interesting right now, and it is due to of course, the conflict in Ukraine right now. Call it the conflict in Ukraine, but let's be honest,
War.
it's a war, a Russian invasion of Ukraine. Uh, Nothing to laugh about, but unfortunately, the context of it, we the way we talk, like a lot of people are suffering, a lot of people are dying, but here in North America, the way we're talking about it was like, hey, pay too much for gas because of it. It's the way that things works, unfortunately. But then we have, of course, good thoughts for the people of Ukraine and everyone affected more violently by this conflict. I think everyone can agree on that, but that's not really what we talked about here on the podcast. So let's talk about what's of concern is the price of gas because of embargoes. It's funny embargoes that they have on the U.S. officially has made an embargoes now, but on oil and gas from Russia, but it's I think 2 or 3% of U.S. imports are coming from Russia, so it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, single digits.
Yeah, Europe would be a big deal, but no European countries have officially decided to go there because it would be quite dramatic for them. Because I think 30 or 40% of their oil and gas is coming from Russia.
I
But
think
there
I
is
think the UK actually did, but they're not part of the EU.
yeah, they're not part of the EU anymore. Brexit. Yeah, this there's been like the Refinery Association. There's been like a few organizations within the fossil fuel industries that have put kind of a self-imposed embargo on Russian petrol, but like Shell was part of that association, and then when the Russians gave them a good enough price, they
Yeah.
just went for it anyway. They're like, oh, $28 a barrel. Okay, we'll go for it when it's
Yeah.
selling for 100.
And they still
So
jack the price on the consumers.
well, yeah.
Anytime.
Whoever ended up buying that at the gas pump, I'm sure they didn't end up paying what would have been the cost just a few weeks ago at that price. Well, no, I mean that hasn't been at $28 a barrel for a while, I think. But anyway, now I think last during some point this week, the national average in the U.S. was 4.25 a gallon, I think, and worse than some places of the country, of course, like. California has it rougher. New York too, I think. Said I don't know how closely you follow their gas prices now that you've only been driving
Not
electric for years.
not real close.
Uh, but yeah, I think New York has it bad too.
Yeah.
So what it does though is it's pushing a lot of people to electric vehicles. So that's the little silver lining of this whole thing. And of course, in the U.S., if you're talking about electric vehicles, you're talking about Tesla because about 80% of the electric cars on the road are Tesla vehicles in the U.S. And our sources tell us that Tesla has seen its order rate jump from week to week here. So like just from last week to this week, with the bulk of the increase and people starting to absorb that information and do their budget maybe and realize hey, uh, they uh, they increased the order rate in some regions by 100%, so doubling the order rate, which is quite massive. uh, of course, now what does that do? That doesn't do much because Tesla is already sold out for months ahead of time anyway. It's not like they're gonna deliver more cars in the near future. It's not gonna even affect this quarter really. Uh, Other than the fact that what we've been seeing out of Tesla though is that they've been focusing now. Your delivery time is a lot faster if you had more options. We reported just this week that you can shorten it by up to 6 months if you choose the FSD option, $12,000 FSD option. A bunch of other options also, like the wheels or um, just a different color of paint that adds like $2,000 to the price of your car. So I don't think it's really about the hardware itself. It's more about just making your car more expensive, making the gross margin more attracting to Tesla. They're gonna deliver those cars faster. So if they have a bigger backlog, a bigger pool of orders to pick and choose from, then they can focus in a quarter to have like higher gross margin that quarter by um, funneling more of the higher priced vehicle in there,
I mean,
especially the FSD.
nothing's going to affect gross margin like FSD, which costs
Yeah,
the consumer $12,000 and cost Tesla like zero. I mean, obviously,
zero,
the
but they don't recognize all of that revenue on that in that quarter. It's not clear how much they recognize in revenue out of it right now. I don't even know how they do that at this point because so do they recognize the revenue too from because there is a decent amount of features that's been delivered in FSD now because of the merging of the enhanced autopilot feature and the FSD feature, but a lot of people like that like 90% of the value of the actual package has to be delivering full self-driving capability, which hasn't done at all. There's the FSD beta, of course, but that's limited to just some owners. So if you're not included in the beta, are you do you even do you recognize less revenue from that order if they're not in the beta yet? As soon as they sent you the beta, did Tesla's accounting like check a box and then they recognize more? Like it has to be so complicated at this
yeah.
level. But every quarter or so, Tesla gave an update like we recognize this amount of revenue from because we deliver more features or whatever in FSD. It's always interesting to follow that. But yeah, it's gonna be it's probably gonna be a story to follow in terms of Tesla's financial throughout this year. The take rate of FSD, how it's affected by the long timelines. Because right now, yeah, speaking of the timelines, let me just look at it real quick here because I did share them. In the US, Tesla is guiding July 2022 for new orders of the base Model 3. You can get it faster with more option or long range version. And September 2022 for the Model Y. So that's the one that makes a big difference. If you had FSD to Model Y, you can get it probably within 3 months instead of 6 9 months.
Yeah, that's quite a big difference.
Yeah. Then price increase. Is it a coincidence? I don't know. But Tesla increased the price of the Model 3 and Model Y long range this week. And that's the interesting part here. Just the long range versions and performance version for the Model Y. So $1,000 now. The Model 3 long range starts at 52,000, and the Model Y here is the big kicker. The Model Y starts at $60,000. That's $10,000 more than it did 12 months ago, which is wild.
So, do you think
But
this is because of the nickel?
yeah, that's what I thought was interesting here because yeah, a lot of people have been focusing on the gas price increase. Even Elon himself have been focusing on the gas price increase. He's like, we need to drill more oil, which kind of pissed off a lot of people. But I guess he's more concerned about the short-term impact on civilization if we run out of oil. But nickel, Russia is a third largest producer in the world of nickel, and nickel is extremely important to the production of batteries. And it has already been kind of squeezed from and the increased battery production. I had an interesting piece of data that it's not. I didn't leak the nickel article in there. That's unfortunate. But I think the batteries from electric vehicles represent right now about 5% of the demand for the supply of nickel in the world, because also nickel is used in a ton of other industries. But it's expected to increase to over 50% of the supply within the end of this decade alone. So with the increase on electric vehicle production, battery production for electric vehicles, it's gonna take a much bigger part of the nickel supply production capacity today. And that's with conservative estimates of electric vehicle growth. As you know, in Electrek, we think it's gonna happen much faster than that. Again, if the supply chains can support it. But now, with fear of, well, not just fear, like actual embargoes and Russian export and everything, they fear that it's going to limit the supply of nickel to production of batteries, and the price skyrocketed. I mean, skyrocketed. Already before anything happened with the Ukraine and Russia, it was already increased by like already doubled over the last few years. Last year alone, I think 30% increase. Something it was going up fast, but it increased 100% over the space of 2 days this week, or I guess was it at the end of last week, within the last week, and it was a very strange situation that happened because, of course, it was the price was going up lately because of the concerns in Russia. But what I've learned in my research is that the world's biggest nickel producer, based in China, had a giant short position on nickel prices with puts contracts, I guess, to edge their position on nickel since they are the biggest nickel producers. I didn't even know that people did that. I'm not that business savvy, I guess. Um, but then what happened is that with the price surging, they had a giant margin call on those on that short position on nickel, and they were owing $8 billion, which was an insane amount of money, and now they had to sell their nickel to pay that short position. But not only that, the only reason that it only increased by 100% is because the London Metal Exchange and the Shanghai Exchange both stopped trading metal because they were going to bankrupt the biggest nickel producer in the world. I'm not making this up, people.
That's
This
crazy.
is this is crazy. Makes no sense whatsoever. And you know what? Like 6 days later, it's still not trading. Like they're still not trading it for fear of it going out of control again and people getting bankrupt. And a lot of people are mad about it because a lot of people were trading it. A lot of people are invested in nickel, myself included, to be honest. But I mean, I don't care about like the price increase like that makes no sense anyway. So I wasn't counting on that. I'm just counting on just the demand increasing rapidly. But why it's interesting that it relates to this price increase from Tesla is because the price increase was only for the long range version, which are the version that requires nickel, because Tesla has switched to iron phosphate battery chemistry for the base version of the Model 3, which hasn't received a price increase and doesn't use nickel. Now, people are like, yeah, it doesn't work that fast and everything. Like Tesla has already inventory and everything. Sure, but again, those are for new orders. Like the people won't get those cars for until the end of the year. So I don't know. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's not that. But and also interesting because it's hard to. All right, nickel prices increase by this amount of money. How does it actually affect the price of a full size electric car? And Morgan Stanley did the math actually, and they say for a long range vehicle like a Tesla Model 3, Tesla Model Y, it adds up to about $1,000. So this is significant. Like on a $50,000 car, $1,000 increase from just the increase of a price of one material inside the car. It's no joke.
And it's really close to what Tesla raised the price of. So
yeah,
interesting.
It is. It is interesting. All right, still on the Ukraine crisis, Tesla got involved a little bit more this week. We reported when it first started that Tesla made the supercharging station free for not Tesla owners, but not just Tesla owners, also non non-Tesla EV owners in Slovakia, Poland, and Hungary. Tesla doesn't have supercharger in Ukraine, but a lot of people were fleeing the country. So just to have them have one less thing to think about, they did that this week. They expanded the program to all charging stations in Poland and Slovakia, because a lot of people, refugees, are going deeper into those countries now, and also even like going deeper to Europe and everywhere around the world now, right? That is taking refugees from Ukraine right now. Last time I checked, it was over a million already, I think. Or are they expecting a
Oh,
million to hit a
it's
million?
I think it's closer to 2 million at this point.
2 million now, yeah.
It's
And
just
now that
it's hard to imagine though, like
uh,
a refugee and a Tesla. Like those are two things that don't really in
yeah,
my
I get
brain. I'm sure there are like,
yeah.
but my
No,
brain
no,
it's
I
just
understand
weird.
your point. I understand your point for sure. Yeah, but now, so we learned that from a letter that Tesla sent to the employees, and it was leaked on CNBC. And Tesla really confirmed in that letter that because, like I said last time, Tesla doesn't actually sell their cars in Ukraine, and all Tesla owners in Ukraine are people that imported the vehicle themselves. But Tesla says that they believe that there's over 5,000 Tesla owners in Ukraine, which is impressive for countries that they're not even in. You'd think they'd be in at that point. Normally, that because that's parts of how they do it, where they they uh, they look at how many people go through the painful process of importing their own car in there, and if there's enough people, it's like, all right, there's enough demand that if we were to go in there, it'd be a good market for us. But of course, there was also the geopolitical situation that that has been a problem in Ukraine for the last almost a decade now, really.
Yeah.
Uh, but a few other things that we learned through that letter too is that Tesla has done more to help Ukrainians. Tesla has a lot of Ukrainians employees too, and not necessarily in Ukraine because they don't operate there, but Ukrainians are smart people that work all over the world. Some of them work for Tesla, and a lot of them are being recalled right now as reservists in the army to try to combat to fight the Russian invasion. And Tesla has told them that if that's the case, they will receive up to 3 months of pay while they are going there, and so they don't have to worry about their job and their financial situation as they go and fight for their country, which is of course the right thing to do from Tesla. And of course, people are like, just 3 months. Like, what if it lasts almost 3 months? Tesla just said like, right now you're authorized for 3 months, and we're going to reevaluate the situation within 3 months. So I guess they're hopefully thinking that this is going to be resolved by then, but who knows? Then lastly. We learned, of course, of another Elon Musk company doing something for Ukraine, which is SpaceX with the Starlink internet satellite constellation, sending a bunch of terminals in Ukraine to make the system work there, so that they can keep the internet running, especially for infrastructure reasons and the army and other infrastructure in Ukraine. Excuse me. Um, Tesla was actually involved in that. Apparently, the team at Gigafactory Berlin helped package those Starlink terminals, and they also deployed with them a fleet of Tesla Powerwalls. So, of course, because if you have the terminal but you cannot power it, it's worthless. But if you have a Powerwall, you don't need the grid to be up to power your Starlink or any other things that you would need to fight. So they put that together with their team. The system included also PV inverter given by our certified installer network, pre-made DC cable given by our supercharger installation partners, and AC cable made out of scrap from Giga Berlin. A team of 40 plus volunteered across the E- EMEA organization. Sorry, help do that. And but then what we found today, thanks to a reader that sent this to us, is that Tesla actually produced a cool video where they show how to use that Powerwall as kind of a mobile power station, because Powerwall is not really built for what the Ukrainians are using it right now. It's built for the home. It's a home battery pack. You install it on your wall. You connect it to your electrical panel. You connect it with the gateway that communicates with the panel and the power wall, tell you when to activate, to backup load, or to take better advantage of our solar rooftop system. It's not made to just power electronics in the field. But Tesla produced this fun little video here. Well, it's not fun, I guess. It's just interesting if you like that stuff. but they get it delivered on a skid like that, and straight from the skid with all the equipment that we just discussed in the Tesla email, the DC and the EC cables that are like MacGyvered out of the box. Tesla is able to make the Powerwall work from the skid that it comes out of, from the box that it comes out of, with just a separate gateway and a solar inverter if you if you need the to string some solar panel in order to make it last a little bit longer, because of course you have almost 14 kilowatt hour of capacity in there, which for the Starlink terminal alone, if that's what you want to use it for, which I guess was the main goal when Tesla deployed those um, for Ukrainians, you can last probably days on just running that. But if you want to last it longer, or if you want to use more things, because the Powerwall has a 5 kilowatt of capacity, so it can power a lot more than just a starting terminal. You can string a bunch of solar panels on it and make it work. But look, like it's even they even cut out the box so that the cables can just run outside of them like that. That they change it because the cable connection are normally hardwired. Now they have different connectors at the end so that they can just connect it to. I think it's connected to the gateway. Yeah, the EC power cable to the gateway, and so that the gateway is kind of the brain of the situation here, and they have the AC outlets coming out of it. This is for the communication cable, so that the gateway can talk to the power wall. And yeah, you see it a little bit. So you just turns it on. Yeah, you need the 12-volt power apparently to start up the gateway, but once you have it set up with the inverter, you don't need that. But just to start it up, they use a little power pack here for 12-volt power. But then now the Powerwall is running. You can literally close it up like that, and now you have a working Powerwall inside its own box. And
That's pretty cool.
yeah, it's pretty cool. So now he's literally just plugging a lamp on the AC outlet just to show, in this case, like, say, example, a Starlink terminal. But for a more visual example, let's just do a lamp, and it's gonna turn on, powered by a Powerwall as a mobile power station. Now it's not turning on.
So do they come charged? Powerwall?
Well, I can answer that actually because I had an installation lately, and I think it was charged up to something like 20%, maybe something like that.
Mm.
Now in this situation, I don't know if they can deliver it in a bit more charge. So now he's connecting the AC, the solar inverter, so that we
Uh,
can string solar panels to it. And they tell you even like how, like they say put it like that in the box. They don't want it to put, because normally you put it upside down because you put it on the wall, but for some reason it's not good to have it upside down if you have cables or whatever. I don't know the situation, but they tell
Maybe
you
it's
to leave
the
it like that.
air flow or something.
Yeah, that's probably it. And then you string the solar panel, which of course you want to put outside, and just like that you have like a deployed in 10 minutes. You have a working solar powered battery backup power station, old power station. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you throw a Starlink on there, and you have internet for.
Yeah, and then you can communicate with other armed forces trying to protect your country against foreign invaders and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool this morning watching that. All right. We have an official date for the start of deliveries of Gigafactory Berlin. So last week we discussed all the approval process, and it was a conditional building permit with 400 condition. But surprisingly, Tesla said within 2 weeks we're gonna take care of those, and it looks like they're doing it because they're now sending out event for March 22nd for a delivery day event. So the very first Tesla Model Y built in Europe, built in Germany, are going to be delivered. So it's a big day for Tesla, since it's gonna change a lot of the logistics involved. It's a great day for not just for Tesla in Europe, but Tesla everywhere, because especially now it's gonna free up some space in China, some not some space, but some capacity rather, because that Tesla Model Y has been in Europe has been coming from China, well, I assume it's still going to come to a degree for a little bit as they ramp up production, but um, it's going to help Tesla's logistics all around the world and production capacity. Same with Texas, which should be the delivery event for Texas should be happening around the same time too, or not too long after, maybe first week of April has been the rumor or something like that.
Also, an interesting new font on there. I don't know if
All
you've
right,
heard of the
real
logo.
quick, because we talked about it the last few weeks, and it's been a big story. And Tesla likes to play with those. You remember the Cybertruck when the Cybertruck was launched? Like they had a weird one too there, and it was interesting. So the fight between Elon Musk and ACC, with Tesla being caught in the middle, it ramped up again this week with Elon officially asking the court to kill the not necessarily the whole settlement from 2018 over the funding secure tweet, but at least the policing of his tweets from the SEC. He wants that to be done. He thinks it went too far. He thinks it's encroaching over his First Amendment right. He don't like it,
Nope.
and they also asked the court to shut down the subpoena that came out of it over what we discussed, what apparently is related that we discussed about last week, the whole possible investigation over allegation of insider trading with his brother when he tweeted about the possible sell of 10% of his stocks in Tesla. So I don't know where this is gonna go. Like the whole exchange to last month with his lawyers and the ACC in front of the court, that didn't go well for them. The court didn't want to see that, but now they're doing it again. But this time more officially, literally asking for the decree that was related to the settlement, where he had to have Tesla's legal team check his tweet when they could be material to Tesla, which was always a weird demand to start with, because like, okay, what is material to Tesla? It's subjective, and anyway, sorry, I'm not out there right now. Oh boy, I think it's gonna be a quick one this week, if
Yeah.
I can make it. But maybe we'll, if you guys have questions to ask us, maybe that's gonna be easier for me, so I don't have to to go through that. But if you have any question right now, put them in the comment section, and we're gonna get to them. We're just gonna have two more things to discuss, but there are two kind of important things to discuss. It's gonna take us maybe a little while to talk about them. But if you have question, put them in the comment section. Put them in there on all cap. I have question all cap before it, so that we can find them easier. And we'll get to it in maybe 10-15 minutes. The ID.Buzz was officially unveiled this week, the production version, because of course this thing has been around for, I want to say 2018, 2017 that they unveiled the original prototype for it. I say original prototype, but the prototype of the ID.Buzz, not the, of course, iconic minibus from the 60s, 70s. Yeah, 70s at least, maybe not 60s.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
it was around in the
60s and
60s.
70s.
Yeah, which was, of course, a product that was really loved. Kind of a cult product, cult following. A lot like what we hear about Tesla, like trying to make people love a product is pretty hard to do. But they are giving it a shot here, trying to bring it back as an electric vehicle. And it's interesting because it has a good shot of being successful. Because first of all, it lives in a segment of its own right now in electric vehicles. There's not really a microbus or minivan that's all electric. There's a Mercedes, but it's not exactly same form factor here. And of course, with the design language staying somewhat true to the original, that can help. But yeah, the pictures of the production version are not showing up for some reason. Let me try that again. Oh, they're deciding which picture to show. Well, yeah, we were a bit concerned about the production version, because we saw a bunch of prototypes with heavy camouflage, and they weren't great. But this I'm fine with. This actually looks pretty good to me.
Yep.
I'm okay with the production version look. I'm okay with the. I love the two-tone color match things, but I love that about a lot of cars. And VW does it well. The two-tone ID.3 too, I think, looks very good. Do they have a two-tone ID.4?
I don't think so. Maybe they're saving that for GT version or something.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Interior is looking sweet, kind of funky a little bit, at least with this color combination here of orange and white. This is the 5-seat configuration. They're gonna start with that. You're going to start with a 5-seat configuration, but then there's going to be a 6-seat configuration that's going to be available as 2 rows. Sorry, that's not right. 3 rows of 2 seats. And later on, there's going to be an extended wheelbase version. We don't know when. That's going to allow for 7-seat in a 2-3-2 arrangement. So I'm going to be able to have a 7-seat minivan. There's also this cargo version that's available that you can do whatever you want with it. Basically, you can. That's probably what they're gonna use to do like a camper or maybe for businesses that want to do deliveries and things like that. That's gonna be quite popular, I think. That's what a lot of people love about the original VW Microbus. You can modify it however you want. Now, there's a lot that we don't know from this unveiling. First of all, it was kind of delayed a little bit. Not in Europe. In Europe, it's still going to come in the first half of 2022. They say in
Soon.
yeah in initial countries that are unnamed, third quarter of 2022. Start of advanced sales in initial countries. So in May they start the sales. Then deliveries are going to start. Wow, this is confusing. And now that I look at it. Start of European ID.Buzz cargo production. Okay, so that's right. Okay, that's production and launch. Okay, they do this. You have to be careful with VW for that because you remember they started production on the ID.3, but it took almost a year before they started deliveries.
Right?
Yeah. So third quarter is the first deliveries. It sounds like in Europe. In North America, it was supposed to come next year. But now they say that the long wheelbase is going to debut in North America in 2023, but the sales launch is 2024. So I don't think we're going to see that car before 2024, it sounds like.
It's quite a time, quite a while.
Yeah. And of course, they plan to build it apparently in North America later on.
Chattanooga.
Yeah. 82 kilowatt hour battery pack that we already knew about that. They are not saying how much range you're going to get out of that, which is unfortunate. I think they want to keep that information closer to the launch. You should be able to get a decent range out of it, even though it's not the most efficient form factor. It's not bad either. You see that they put some effort into efficiency despite being van bus type of shape. The pricing also is not available, unfortunately. There's been reports in the past that it would start under $50,000, which is not bad for a vehicle of that size with a 82 kilowatt battery pack. It's not. It would be interesting. It comes also with all the ADS functionalities for driver assist system, intelligent driver assist system. Yeah, it's a sweet looking little van right there. Oh, more pictures.
I agree. One thing I didn't like about it, or at least the initial version, is 200 horsepower motor. I think 201 actually. That's the same motor as the base ID.4. That's around the same power as like a Chevy Bolt. Which in a Chevy Bolt, that's a great motor for a Chevy Bolt, but for a vehicle this big, I think they're really sticking to tradition on that because
it was never a powerful car. Yeah.
The VW bus was never a powerful car. Mm-hmm. And I think the top speed on this is like 90 miles per hour, which is,
it's fine for what it is, really. But yeah. It's not what we used to for electric car, like the pippiness and everything won't necessarily.
But that should help the gas mileage, I guess.
Yep, that's right, for sure. All right, now let's discuss the Rivian Q4 earnings that were released yesterday. Something a lot of people were waiting for. It's first full quarter of production, really. So it was giving us a good idea of Rivian's performance, but of course people were more looking into the guidance for the full year, and there's some good, there's some bad. Let's get to it. They lost about $2.4 billion, so that's the bad, but that's what we were expecting. A lot of people are comparing this, try to compare this to Tesla and everything like this. Oh, let's look at how Tesla was doing when they first started production. They were losing money. So this is the same thing, but I want to point out some differences with Tesla early on and Rivian. Uh, in terms of size, it's completely different. Like you think Tesla is the bigger company, yes, and now it is, but when it first started production, it was a fairly small company. And when I say started production, I'm not even talking about the Roadster. Like the Roadster was kind of a different thing of its own. I'm talking about first production of a volume vehicle. Uh, in the case of Tesla, that was the Model S. So if you want to compare like a timeline of Tesla back then versus Rivian right now, you would compare Rivian right now to Tesla, I think in 2013, 2014, so something like that. Um, to me, it looks like Rivian is just doing that, but bigger, much bigger. And that could be a good thing. That could be a bad thing. Because if it works, it's going to work big, fast. But if it doesn't work, I'm not saying that they're going to fail necessarily, because they are in a strong position. But it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, though. And things are going to have to change. Here's why. They confirm that they have produced in Q about 1,000 vehicle in Q. So that's what is confusing, because they thought this is the result for Q4 last year, but they talked a lot about 2022 because it looks better. Like what they're up, they talked a lot about up to March 8th, which was 2 days before they released the earnings. So they have produced 2,425 vehicles since the start in production last year. 1,400 was produced in 2022. So that puts you about 1,000 units last year. So they produced the roughly 1,000 cars in Q4, and they lost 2.4 billion doing that.
Does that include the delivery vans?
Yeah, there was a few delivery, and they mentioned all cars. They don't separate them, but they said that the R1T, R1S, and the EDV, the electric delivery van for Amazon, they're all in it. But I think that I think right now it's not big volumes, the delivery van, to be honest. Even though they have 100,000 of them on order. Sorry. Yeah. So the big thing is they're losing money on those cars, obviously, but the rate is what's important here, and the gross margin. So obviously they have a negative gross margin on those vehicles right now, plus they are investing heavily. The big difference with Tesla at that time, they were losing money as a company just like Rivian, but their gross margin was actually positive and pretty good for Tesla early on. It's just that Tesla was reinvesting so much in growth that they were still losing money as a company until the last few years, to like 2019, they started being profitable. So Rivian is playing a similar game here, but we need to see them reach a positive gross margin on the vehicles. Not a positive, not a profit as a company. That's not what I'm looking for. That's years and years away, I think. But the gross margin on making cars is important, because as you ramp up production, if you're still losing money on every car and you're producing thousands of cars now a quarter, it's starting to be painful financially. And here, when you look at things, okay, now they've produced 1,400 cars in 2022. They say that they are making some improvement in the production rate, that the exit rate doubled the last 2 weeks versus Q4. That's good, but it's still not that great, because again, we're talking about a few hundreds vehicles per week max. Now, you look at the guidance for the year, which was cut to 25,000 units. They say that they have everything in place to produce 50,000 units per year, but the supply chains issue is what's bringing them down to 25,000 units. Which, okay, that's fair. Everyone is having supply chain issues right now. But then they say also that they think they're gonna still have a negative gross margin on those cars throughout 2022. 25,000 car production unit is a decent number. Losing money on all of those is painful. Um, when Tesla was producing 25,000 cars a year, they were already at like a 19-20% positive gross margin. Like, of course, now they had 30 and everything, and they're producing 1 million cars a year. But this is a completely different company as it was back then, and you cannot compare it now to Rivian. But it's a lot of money that they're going to be losing. And the market didn't like that because the stock was down as much as 13% in aftermarket hours after they released that. I think it was down 7% today, so they recovered a little bit, but not as much. But Rivian stock has been hammered. I mean, it was trading $150 billion last year, and now it's down. It was at trading as low as 33 billion. I think now it's probably like 35 billion, something like that. So its valuation has been crushed. Um, Two silver lining. It's important because it looks like I'm hammering on Rivian here, but it's not exactly what I'm saying. They still have $18 billion cash on hand. Of course, they raised like $13 or $14 billion through the public offering in November. Before that, they already had raised over like $20 billion in a private offering. So they still have a lot of money, so they have room to play here. The other silver lining, they still have, as of earlier this month, as of March 8th, 83,000 pre-orders, which is important because that's after the price debacle that we talked about last week, which of course they corrected. So we expected them not to lose too many orders off of that. Um, but here's the two important things: still 83,000 orders, which is 10,000 more than they had last year. So there's still a good rate of orders that were added, and they said that they still see the same daily average order rate as they did before the price increase. Because of course the big problem with the price increase was not as much the price increase, but that everybody that placed an order before that had to swallow that price increase. So now that changed, so that allowed Rivian to keep its base of reservation holders. But how does the price increase, which affects new orders, affects the order rate? Apparently not that much. So that's a good news. Anything else you want to say said about the Rivian earnings?
Well, I was going to get in, but I don't know if it hit my limit. I still think it's a solid company. I don't know. Like it sounds like it's a really hard time to be making electric vehicles, especially for the first time now. Tesla has like buying power and gigafactories and access to batteries. It sounds like Rivian's costs are going up, and like that was before all the Russia stuff. So they have to find a way to make this car at a profit, or this vehicle at a profit, and it doesn't seem to be like obvious that they can get there. I think they'll be able to get there. It just doesn't seem like it was such a home run like it was. It seemed like around IPO time. So it's that price increase and the numbers and the kind of like flow of bad news has been a little bit rough, and obviously the stock price is taking a hit because of that. But I mean, the team's good, the vehicle's good. You just gotta kind of weather the storm, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Weather the storm. They have to find a way to balance the production ramp, and that was going to achieve economies of scale, because that's the thing they want to do. Like yeah, if we can just produce more of them, it's going to be cheaper with economy of scales. Yes, but there's also other efficiency that needs to be achieved for gross profit, because if you try to balance that and it doesn't work, and you achieve your production ramp at 50,000 units, but you're losing money on each one of those units, that becomes completely financially unsustainable. And even if you have $18 billion in pocket, if you're losing $5 billion a quarter, you won't last long.
Yep.
But yeah, like I said, like you said, I think they have a strong team still. They still have a good product on their hand. I think they're going to figure it out. It's just going to take a little bit longer than I think the people that invested in the IPO thought.
Yeah.
All right, should we get into the comments, the questions?
Yep.
Before my face hit the keyboard.
All right, Green Gold asks, have either of you heard from GM when you will get to see the first Equinox EV? Well, we've heard the launch time, which is going to be spring of next year, so about a year from now. And I think the Equinox and the Blazer are going to come out around the same time. I don't know. Do you think they'll have the announce event for both, or do you think they'll launch each separately, the Blazer and the Equinox?
I think the launch has to be, the unveil event has to be quite soon, honestly, if it's coming the spring of next year.
Yeah.
Is there anything that makes sense that's coming up? The Auto show maybe November, and that's
The
too
New York
late.
Auto Show is next month.
Yeah, it's rare that they unveil something big like
Yeah,
that in the New York
that's
Auto
pretty
show.
small
Though.
there.
It's,
Um,
it's,
yeah,
maybe they let go of the show thing and they go full Tesla and have their own event. We'll see.
yeah. I think that if they have the Equinox as
Or
a
we do an Electrek event. Finally, an Electrek
yeah,
event, and they're gonna unveil it there. Who
yeah.
knows?
We just need an event planner. Know anybody?
Yeah, if anyone knows a good event planner, it would be cool to have a big electric vehicle show, not just about cars, but everything electric mobility. That'd be cool.
All right. Mark Webb says, "Do you have any info on when we will see the 4680s in Model X Plaid? Thinking of buying a Model X, but there may be benefits with the updated batteries."
Oh, but that's the question we get every time. I think, is it a good? When is a good time to buy this Tesla? Is this Tesla? I mean, hey, you want to get your hand on the Model X right now, 4680 or not? Good luck. Good luck, Mark. So that's the thing. I mean, when do you want your car? When do you
Right.
want your car? Because if you're waiting for the 4680, even you might be waiting for a long time. I'm not saying that they're not going to come anytime soon. I'm saying that the order list for the Model X is. I know people that have ordered the Model X over a year ago that still have no idea when they're going to get it. Um, so yeah, it's a hard time right now. But so if we just talk about 4680 and Model X, when would that make sense? When would that make sense? They're gonna need all the 4680 they can make for the Model Y for a foreseeable future. Then after that, I think it makes more sense to introduce it in the Model 3 because this is a bigger vehicle program that's going to benefit more from the economies of the 4680 cell. I don't think you see it in the Model X Plaid for maybe 2 or 3 years, honestly.
Yeah. At least, I mean,
It's still a good car. Like the thing, like you want the 4680 cell, I get it. But here's the thing: we don't even know how big of a change it actually make yet. Tesla has yet to say anything about the Model Y
we'll
that's
find
already
out
in
soon.
production with the 4680 cells, how it affects the lifespan, and they're probably not gonna tell us anything because they don't want to then affect their products that doesn't have those cells. So there's a lot of guesswork going on about it. Like, oh, everyone is saying it is the million-mile battery and whatnot. Like, it's well, I'm a little bit more skeptical. I think it's a great product and everything. Like I trust Tesla when it comes to battery production, sorry, or battery technology. But how big of a leap it is, I don't think we're anywhere near the uh, like everything that was announced at the battery day a few years ago.
All right. Moving on. Where do you see Rivian in 5 years?
I see it. I'm still around at least.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I think. Because some people think they won't be. No, like you said, they have a good team around them. That's the number one thing if you want to survive. And the product is good for the most part. So they have something there. It's just you remember that when they first started Rivian, we talked about them. We were always like they got their priority in the right place.
Right.
They they didn't focus on marketing, on even showing a car or even taking pre-orders before they were already thinking about manufacturing. They already
Right.
had bought the normal Illinois plant from Mitsubishi, I think it was. Yeah, like I don't even remember because it was so long ago that they actually bought that plant. It was a long time ago because they were thinking about manufacturing first and everything. I think they lost a little bit of that, like with already now the new Georgia plant in motion before ever even figuring out what's happening in Illinois. Not even figuring out like they have a vehicle in production things, but I think they need to have a vehicle in volume production, achieving a gross profit margin before ever deploying another production line. I think because the right now
They need
Rivian
to focus.
cannot say that they know how to make a sustainable electric vehicle because you need to be financially sustainable if you want to make it because otherwise it won't survive. Um, so do I think but I do think they get there within 5 years. I think they get there faster than that. Probably at some point next year. And then that's where things gonna be interesting because that's when also the F-150 Lightning is gonna be in volume production. The Silverado is gonna start showing, peeking out of the factory. Maybe the Cybertruck.
We'll see. I don't know about that one. I mean, what's coming first, the Cybertruck or the Roadster or the Semi or
Yeah. I mean, the Semi. I think we're gonna see it this year more, like just but slowly, very slowly.
yeah,
The Cybertruck would make more sense before the Roadster. It's just that Roadster, like people, they've been they've been selling those with giant customer deposit for so long that it's starting to look pretty bad not to deliver them too.
yeah. All right, Mark Webb asked, there seems to be a trend toward rear wheel steering. Mercedes EQS, Rivian, BMW iX. Does Rivian have rear wheel steering? I forget.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Existing Tesla models lack this feature. Do you think Tesla is a bit behind the competition in this respect? Well,
Well,
didn't Elon tweet that was going to happen on the
yeah, on the
Cybertruck?
Cybertruck, like, he already said it's coming to the Cybertruck. And look, people, like it's not that big of a deal. Like it's cool and everything, but no one needs that on the Model 3, on the Model Y. Maybe on Model X, maybe on bigger vehicle. Of course, it makes more sense on bigger vehicle. That's why EQS is quite a long car.
Yeah.
So maybe on the Model S too, it makes sense. But I would, I mean, I don't know the size by heart, but I would think the EQS is a longer car than the Model S. So, and it's not that big of a feature for R1T, like the off road, like a big electric vehicle that you can take off road. Then yes, it can start making more sense. But I wouldn't say that they are behind competition because of that. Well, he says in that respect, yeah, definitely in that respect they are behind.
All right. Moving on. Do you know of any good solar resources that are not biased by installers and manufacturers?
I'm not sure what do you think he means by resources.
I mean, I guess a lot of the resources out there, or like websites or whatever. I was going to say Google has a nice product called Sunroof.
Mm-hmm.
You can put your address in there if you're in the U.S. and it'll tell you how much solar, and then of course they have the links to local solar installers. But do your research. Wholesalesolar.com is a good place to do research. They obviously also sell you a solar setup, but those are kind of the places I go to.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with solar, I always thought like I do like Tesla software, so I'm like, if I get solar, I would like to have Tesla solar because of the software. But now a lot of the companies have very interesting competing solution on that front. If you get like any type of solar installation that has like a solar edge inverter for some reason, now s- solar hedge, as since your inverter is kind of the brain of the um, system, they install all the software features, so you still have like a Tesla like app that tells you all the information about your system and everything. It's pretty cool.
All right. Do you see Tesla producing RVs?
Example, modify semi or standalone model. Standalone model, no, I think not for a long time. Tesla's already too many on the table. But yeah, I already heard of people that ordered of Tesla semi with the goal of turning it into some kind of an RV situation. I mean, it's not necessarily an RV, I guess. It's just more of a, like you attach a trailer to it, like kind of a fifth wheel situation, but bigger, I guess. And you pull it with the Tesla Semi. That would be something. So maybe, I guess those people, what they're trying to do is to develop a trailer or a living trailer that works specifically with the Tesla Semi. A bit like what's happening with the Cybertruck and these guys at Cyberlander developing a camper just for the Cybertruck. So a lot of people are doing that already but not Tesla. Again, that's not Tesla directly. I don't think Tesla would do that.
Yeah, the what is it, Master Plan Part 2? All of those vehicles have at least been announced, except Elon did say something about a microbus or something, right? Or is it a transporter?
Yeah, no, there was, but it was about transport. I think it was about public transport. It was talking about a bus. There's been rumors around the Boring Company forever now about Tesla developing a vehicle for them, but nothing has ever come out of that. I guess with the maybe with especially now that the Las Vegas loop is expanding and it's gonna it looks like the next like 2 or 3 years there's gonna be an actual full size Boring Company loop around the entire city of Las Vegas, or at least the strip, the airport, and a few other places. And if you have that, I think you kind of have to have a different like because right now they're selling it as like this is going to be a bunch of tunnels with Tesla vehicles in it. But if you do that with the current Tesla vehicles, I just don't think it's an optimal situation.
Right.
I think you need more people like if you need more like of a bus like wagon type of vehicle, which people are like, no, this is just a subway. Then
Yeah, that's
but it's not like if you just do a more efficient I mean passenger efficient I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about energy efficient, but more efficient and passenger wise, that basically that look like a wagon of a subway or a bus really, but it's smaller a little bit. And you the big advantage of the Boring Company is like you get them directly to the destination, so it's not going to stop at every stop whatever. You get the people in it and it's going to go like all right from that loop to you're going to the Bellagio from the airport. Well, you're going to go directly there. It's going to stop anywhere. It's a lot more efficient that way. But so you have to be smaller, but also more efficient than just like a 4-5 people car. I don't know. We'll see.
all right. Yeah, RV would be great. So we get the top speed on the original Microbus was 65 miles per hour. That's good to know.
That makes sense.
We do answer LinkedIn questions.
You just don't see the user apparently.
Yeah, it's weird. And then Mark Webb's back saying the turning circle is appallingly poor on the Model Y. I wouldn't say appallingly poor, but it is not amazing. But they could probably just, give you some more steering on the front wheels. But the Model Y is not a huge car. And it's almost like Elon never drives or parks in cities. I don't think that's true. He's probably driving around LA.
Or Austin.
Yeah, or Austin. Anything interesting you've observed with your Tesla Powerwall, Fred?
Not really, unfortunately. Like I said, I just came back from Mexico right now, and it was installed while I was there. It's at my new house too that I'm still building, so there's like nothing happening there right now. So it's pulling like less than a kilowatt. The house is like barely pulling any energy at all, and I'm just keeping the Powerwall charged at 85%. It's pulling 0.1 kilowatt at the moment. And it's staying charged, so probably just a few lights on something. No, I'm once I move there and I use it more, it's going to be more interesting. And I plan to add also power generation, most likely solar, at some point, so that we can get a better use of it than just backup power.
How do you heat the place?
Electricity.
Is it
everything is electric?
Like resistance heat? Or
yeah. Right now everything is through just. In French, it's calorifier, but like on the walls, just heaters, like
right
meters. But I'm replacing everything. I bought floor electric heating floors,
and like radiant.
Yeah,
radiant floors.
Radiant floors everywhere. So that's going to be the main source of
heat pumps.
Yeah, up until out of a heat pump after too. Yeah.
Cool.
So it's going to be a mix of two, so that I can also get some air too in the summer. But that's up, and everything's going to be electric. It's just like solar is just because I like it more than anything, because it doesn't make financially doesn't make that much sense because the electricity is so cheap in Quebec, and it's still relatively clean as a hydroelectric. Though some people say it's not clean because you're diverging water. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Can I go? Yeah. Can I go to sleep now?
That's the end of our questions. So
yeah, sorry everyone. I just it's not my day today. Hopefully, I start getting better. I'm just gonna take the weekend to relax and get back in shape, because these last few days have been rough. I'm gonna go crash to sleep. But I appreciate everyone that's still listening right now. I appreciate that you listen to the show. If you like it, please give us a thumbs up. It helps the algorithm for some reason that I don't understand. And it's free to do. It takes a second. So why are you not doing it? Do it right now. And if you're listening on your podcast app, appreciate you for still being Thanks for listening too, and if you can give us a 5-star review, that helps the show a lot and get us up the charts and whatnot. Thanks a lot, everyone. See you next time next week. Bye bye.